5. Outsmart your own brain. So, if your brain can take shortcuts, misread information, and mistake confidence for truth, does that mean you're doomed to make bad decisions? Not at all. The first step isn't having a smarter brain. It's understanding how your brain actually works. Psychologists have discovered that one simple habit can dramatically improve decision-making. Pause. Just for a moment. Before making an important choice. Ask yourself 3 questions. What evidence supports this? What evidence challenges it? What if the opposite were true? These questions force your brain to slow down. And when your brain slows down, it becomes far less likely to rely on automatic shortcuts. Another powerful strategy is to seek opinions from people who disagree with you. Not to argue, but to uncover blind spots you can't see on your own. The smartest thinkers aren't the ones who are always right. They're the ones willing to change their minds when new evidence appears. Because real intelligence isn't about knowing everything. It's about recognizing when your brain might be wrong. The next time you feel completely certain about a decision, don't ask, "Am I smart enough?" Ask something far more powerful. What might my brain be missing? Because the greatest advantage you can ever have isn't a higher IQ. It's learning how to think about the way you think. And once you unlock that skill, you'll never see your own mind the same way again. 4. Confidence can fool you. Imagine 2 people answering the same question. One says, "I'm not completely sure." The other replies instantly, "Absolutely." Who would you trust? Most people choose the confident person. But confidence and accuracy are not the same thing. In fact, studies have shown that people who sound the most certain are often no more accurate than everyone else. Sometimes, they're even less accurate. So why does confidence feel so convincing? Because your brain uses confidence as a shortcut. It assumes that if someone speaks without hesitation, they must know what they're talking about. This happens every day. In job interviews, business meetings, classrooms, television, and all over social media. The loudest voice often gets the most attention. Not because it's right, but because it sounds convincing. What's even stranger? Your own brain does the same thing to you. The more times you repeat an opinion, the more familiar it feels. And the more familiar it feels, the more certain you become that it's true. Even when no new evidence has appeared. That's why people can become completely confident about something that's completely false. Confidence feels powerful, but it isn't proof. So the next time you hear someone who sounds absolutely certain, including yourself, ask one simple question. Is this confidence? Or is it actually evidence? 3. The experiment that shocked everyone. Now here's where things get truly surprising. In the 1970s, 2 psychologists asked a simple question. Can the way a question is asked change the decision people make? To find out, they showed volunteers the exact same situation. The only difference was a few carefully chosen words. One group was told a treatment would save 200 lives. Another group was told the same treatment would result in 400 deaths. The numbers were identical. The outcome was exactly the same. But the choices were completely different. Most people preferred the first option. Why? Because your brain doesn't judge facts alone. It reacts to how those facts are presented. Psychologists call this the framing effect. Your brain naturally sees saving lives as a gain. But people dying feels like a loss. Even when both statements describe the exact same reality. This hidden bias influences far more than medical decisions. It shapes the products you buy, the news you believe, the politicians you support, and even the opportunities you choose to accept or reject. What's most unsettling is that your brain rarely notices the frame. It only notices the feeling it creates. So the next time you're certain a decision feels obvious, ask yourself one question. Am I choosing based on the facts? Or simply the way those facts were presented? 2. Your brain loves shortcuts. Think about the last decision you made today. Maybe you chose what to eat, what to wear, or whether to check your phone. It probably felt like a careful decision. But your brain had already decided long before you noticed. Why? Because your brain is constantly looking for the fastest path. Scientists call these mental shortcuts heuristics. Without them, even simple choices would take forever. Imagine stopping to analyze every traffic light, every face you recognize, or every word you read. Your brain would quickly run out of energy. So instead, it builds patterns. If this worked before, it will probably work again. Most of the time, that shortcut saves time. But sometimes, it leads to surprisingly bad decisions. For example, if you hear one confident opinion first, your brain often uses it as a starting point, even if it's completely wrong. This is known as the anchoring effect. One random number, one first impression, or one early opinion can quietly shape every decision that follows. The strange part is, most people never realize it's happening. They believe they're thinking logically, when in reality, their brain is simply following the easiest path. So if your brain prefers shortcuts over accuracy, what happens when those shortcuts are completely wrong? 1. Intelligence doesn't protect you. Imagine meeting someone with an incredible IQ. They solve complex problems in minutes. They remember things most people forget. They seem almost impossible to fool. But then, that same person falls for an obvious scam, makes a terrible investment, or stays in a toxic relationship for years. How is that possible? Most people believe intelligence protects them from making bad decisions. Science says otherwise. Your brain wasn't designed to be perfectly rational. It was designed to survive. And survival often means making fast decisions instead of accurate ones. Every second, your brain processes millions of bits of information. Analyzing everything carefully would take too much time and energy. So instead, your brain relies on mental shortcuts. Psychologists call these shortcuts heuristics. Most of the time, they help you make quick and useful decisions. But sometimes, those same shortcuts lead you straight into mistakes. Here's the surprising part. The smarter you are, the better you become at explaining your wrong decisions. Instead of noticing the mistake, your brain builds convincing stories to justify it. That's why intelligence alone doesn't make you immune to bad choices. In fact, it can sometimes make those choices even harder to recognize. So if being smart isn't enough, what exactly is controlling the decisions you make every single day?